Probe into the origins of the Russia investigation with a preview of what will likely be a highly anticipated Inspector General's report. And welcome back to America's Newsroom. I am Arthel Neville. I'm in for Sandra Smith. Hey,
Good to be with you. Hey, Arthel,
Likewise.
and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I'm Connell McShane filling in today for Bill Hemmer. New York Times with the report that the IG report will come out and criticize FBI leaders, even including a chart listing all the mistakes made. But it also will reportedly find no evidence the FBI placed undercover agents inside the Trump campaign. Ellison Barber picks up the story live in Washington with more. Ellison.
Hey, Connell, yeah, maybe in some ways you could argue there could be something for everyone within this report, at least everyone in Washington, D.C. The key findings in the IG report is said to deal a significant blow to claims President Trump and his allies have often made that the FBI, the Department of Justice, spied on Trump's 2016 campaign or somehow acted improperly when they started investigating people with ties to it. The IG report is not expected to be released until December 9th, but citing people familiar with the draft report, the New York Times says the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, has, quote, found no evidence that the FBI attempted to place undercover agents or informants inside Donald Trump's campaign in 2016, as agents investigated whether his associates conspired with Russia's election interference. The IG also looked at efforts to surveil this man, Carter Page. The FBI wiretapped the former Trump campaign advisor. The IG reportedly felt the FBI was careless and unprofessional when pursuing the wiretap of Page, but found nothing to suggest FBI leaders were politically motivated. Republicans are not buying it, and some are preparing to point the finger, at least in part, at House Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff. Congressman Mark Meadows says reports indicating informants were not placed inside the Trump campaign are a red herring, and in his view, an attempt to diminish the seriousness of improper activity that did occur. Once the IG report comes out, sources are telling our colleague Jillian Turner Republicans intend to call for the resignation of Chairman Schiff. That could be a tough argument to make because Republicans, not Democrats, were in the majority at the time of the alleged offenses. Sources are suggesting that Republicans will try to argue that Schiff had insight into how the process was managed. Connell?
All right, Ellison Barber, live for us in Washington.
And more on this now with Courtney Subramanian. She is USA Today White House correspondent. All right, Courtney, so the IG, Mr. Horowitz, will say that the wiretapping of Carter Page was legal and not politically motivated, and there is no evidence the FBI tried to place undercover agents inside the Trump campaign to see if his associates conspired with Russia's election interference operation. So what can we expect to hear from President Trump now that those details of the IG report are out?
Look, the president has said, as he said last week, this is a historic report. He's very much been anticipating for its release. And as Ellison mentioned, I think there's a little bit of something for everyone in the report. So we will see this play out in the impeachment inquiry next week. We have the House Judiciary Committee holding its first hearing. And in the Judiciary Committee, they will be deciding whether to write the articles of impeachment. So this is something that the Democrats will use to bolster their argument, while the Republicans will also use it to defend the president and their claim that this is a coordinated effort against the president.
But now, what will the president say? I mean, he was out there really loud and very public saying, hey, they're spying on me. They spied into my into my campaign. And he even, claimed that former President Obama was spying on him in the White House. So how will the president, not that he's one to walk anything back, but what can we expect to hear from him in terms of a direct response to this new finding?
I think you'll see him point to some of these discrepancies with how investigators cut corners, right? So he will point to the FBI lawyer who falsified a document allegedly in the FISA while seeking the FISA surveillance on Carter Page. We'll also see him point to some of these sloppy tactics used, right? So just like the impeachment inquiry, I think we'll see the president really point to the process of the origins of the Russia investigation.
So let's play some sound now from Attorney General Barr telling lawmakers earlier this year that he thought spying did occur.
I think spying on a political campaign is a big deal. I think spying did occur. Yes, I think spying did occur.
So I asked the same question about Attorney General Barr. Do you expect to hear him walk back these comments?
I don't. I think in these moments, this is when we see Attorney General Barr kind of keep quiet, and I think that's what we'll probably expect from him after this report's release. But again, we have to wait until we actually see the report ourselves.
Okay, so that report due out December 9th, IG Horowitz will sharply criticize FBI for sloppy and unprofessional handling of the investigation in some ways, as you just mentioned earlier there. Courtney, what happens now? I mean, what does this mean going forward? And will this have any impact on the impeachment inquiry?
Yeah, I think that we're going to see, this is new ammunition for both sides. Democrats are going to say this exonerates the FBI and the intelligence community from some of the allegations leveled against it by the president and his allies. And Republicans are going to point to, again, some of these sloppy tactics used in the origins of the investigation. But again, I think it's important to remember that Horowitz did find there was no politically motivated actions by any of the investigators, and that the FISA surveillance was lawful. So again, as Allison mentioned, I think there's a little bit of something for everyone, and we'll see both parties use this when they're trying to shape the messaging in the impeachment inquiry.
Right, and no spying occurred. Listen, both sides will definitely latch on to this report and try to use it to their advantage. You mentioned earlier, Courtney, about process. We keep hearing the Republicans talk about process. Is that going to be the defense every step of the way when President Trump is not backed by some of the factual findings?
That appears to be the case, but, again, this is a fast-moving impeachment inquiry, and we have seen them sort of shift their strategy throughout the way. So for now, we are seeing them latch on to that sort of process argument, and that appears to be the case with this report as well.
Courtney Subramanian, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Take care.
All right, we have another Fox News alert for you. Many Americans facing a travel nightmare this Thanksgiving. Millions are in the path of two severe storms hitting large sections of the United States. And here in New York City, gusty winds forcing the Macy's parade